not Greg. So you guys have me, Amy, here today for the conversation. Greg currently has a lung infection, so just well wishes out to Greg. But he always leaves me with the best authors. So today I am joined by Armand. And so I'm excited to jump in and get you talking about your book. So tell everybody what genre you write in and how long you've been writing.
Thanks for having me, Amy. Thanks for not giving me a lung infection. I appreciate that.
Anytime.
I am a crime thriller and horror author. I have been in this business for 35 years, the last 13 full-time, able to make enough money to not have to go back to retail management, which is really nice. I have over 200 releases on Amazon right now, and I have a book scheduled every month until the following October. So I've been busy.
Nice. So till October of 2024?
Yeah.
Wow. Where do you find the time? I love that.
This is it. Sometimes it seems like this is all I do, and then I need breaks. Sometimes I get to the point where I'm home all day, so my wife will come home and she'll say, "When's the last time you left the house? Put some pants on, take me to dinner," and then we'll leave, and it's kind of a good refresher. And then I see people, and I get stories and different things, and then I come back and I'm writing. But I try to do it as a 9 to 5 every day. I'll do the promotions, I'll do interviews, I'll actually do some writing, I'll do other things. I write live on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoons at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll have an audience. I'll have people in the chat as I'm writing a short story or I'm writing part of a book or whatever. And for me, it's great because this is a lonely solo thing that we do here, and especially full time. I don't really interact with a lot of people, so it's fun to be able to interact. And every now and then I'll say, "Hey, give me a character name, or give me an give me something," and they'll throw stuff in the chat for me, and I put it in the story. So that's also a lot of fun.
I love that. What a good way to kind of bridge the gap to communicate with your readers literally while you're on your writing journey of writing that book. I think that's genius, because like you said, being an author, they tend to be very introvert, and you do it full time writing from home, and so it's hard to kind of get out and do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So to engage with your readers like that, I mean, that is genius. I love that.
It's a lot of fun. There's other authors on there. There's other readers that come in, random people, because Twitch is a gaming thing. So there are dozens and dozens of other authors on there that are doing it, which is great. So I've been doing it for about 2 years now, and even when I've had bad weeks and I don't want to write, I know I got it. It's 1 o'clock. I got to get on there, even if I'm writing for half an hour, 45 minutes. And a lot of times I'll get on and I'll just say, "Look, I'm having a bad day. This is going on," or whatever. And then people will talk to me either, "Hey, what's going on?" or joking around, which is a lot of fun. So it gets me out of my head for a little bit as well, even if I'm not. Yesterday I wrote 316 words in the hour because we were talking so much, but it's fun. It's having, the same people in all the time, but it's also having some new people that just wander in, or somebody will wander in brand new and say, "What are you writing about? What's your story about? And, tell me about you." And it's kind of like a little mini interview where I'm telling people, or they're looking for specific genres or types of things. And I'll say, "Well, here, this guy in the chat writes what you're looking for." And I hook up other people too. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great tiny little community of 15 or 20 people on any given day that's in there.
Yeah, but I think it's good to kind of branch out and do those, because like you said, it is a gaming platform, but to kind of branch out and still engage with your readers and kind of build those relationships, I think is genius. So I love that you thought of that, and it's like a good avenue to go down. But I'm curious as to what made you want to pick, like crime thrillers and those kinds of things to write about. Do you just love reading those, or why was that the genre of choice for you?
The original genre choice for me was horror. I grew up reading Dean Koontz. 12 years old, I picked up Phantoms by Dean Koontz, and I just fell in love with it. And I read every paperback I could find. with a giant spider or a monster on it. My mother still to this day is a huge horror reader, so she had
Nice.
a giant wall of all these paperbacks, and she's a huge Stephen King fan, and I became a Dean Koontz fan. I guess that was the rebellious part of it, and so still to this day we trade books. Still to this day we're talking authors and stuff like that. So for me it was always horror, but then I realized reading a lot of Dean Koontz's stuff, it was a lot of action adventure. There was thrillers. There was other things, and for many years I just wrote horror. And about 2015 there was
Okay.
a thing called Kindle Scout. Amazon had basically a contest, and we're going to publish Kindle Press. We're going to publish books. They did not want horror, and I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to write this crime thriller, and so that was kind of the thing. So I wrote it, and boom, they accepted it, and it's called Dirty Deeds, and it's about a hitman who kills children, but he doesn't actually kill the children. He actually saves them and moves them into a better life and everything. And the first book is one of the kids that he saved from like 20 years ago suddenly reappears, and it's a mafia boss's son who was supposedly killed 20 years ago. So that creates obviously some conflict. And they were great. They were great with the edits. They were great with the ideas. The promotion was great, but they only wanted a book once a year. And I said, I want a couple. I want, the first book ends on a cliffhanger. I don't want to wait a year for people to crush me in reviews.
Thank you.
You
Thank
know,
you. I don't like cliffhangers. Like I can't. The suspense kills me. I can't hang with it. I
yeah.
can't.
I had already started working while I was waiting to see if they took the book, because I figured I'll just publish it myself. I'd already started the second book, and
Nice.
so when it came out, in early 2016, I already was like, I'm already working on book 2, and I'm working on ideas for book 3. So they still have the ebook rights to the first book, but I did the audio and the print book on my own, and then book 2 on. So right now I'm actually working on book 12, which will be the last book. So I'm
Wow.
doing roughly 2 books a year on that one, among other things, and that has branched off into other crime thriller series, all set in the same world. So some of the mafia guys that you see in Dirty Deeds is now in First Coast Thriller series, and I just co-wrote a 3-book heist series with author Tom Duffy. That will be out December, January, and February. We're going to rapid release all 3, and also has some of those ideas and some of those characters in it. So um, and then I got another series I'll start, another 6-book series. I'll probably do a 6-book series every other year of crime thrillers set in that world with those characters.
Oh, okay. I like that. I like that you have, you started with this world that's the 12-book series, and now it's evolved into different, not necessarily spin-offs, but there are characters from this world that make appearances in your other books, because those can keep you kind of busy, where you're writing your 12th book and then in between you have one of these other books from a different one of these series and stuff, but you're already familiar with the characters. So does that kind of bridge the gap and make it easier for you to kind of knock these books out, or what is your process like?
Yeah, so for me, I'm writing multiple things at the same time, but I also didn't want to. For me as a reader, I want to read a whole series. So a lot of times I don't even start a series until that series is finished and they've done a trilogy or whatever. Once I know, then I'll go and I'll just binge read it. And for me, I had a lot of series for the longest time, horror and crime thriller, that were just not finished.
Right.
So it's been my goal to knock those off and get those, all those trilogies are now all done. That 6-book series, First Coast Thriller series, is all done. This will be the 12th and final book of Dirty Deeds. So once I finish this book, I won't have any open series, which is fun for me. So then I'll start another series or maybe 2 series, but with the goal of finishing those, to get those done, because there's nothing worse than the Robert Jordan Wheels of Time, where he passed away before he finished this giant monumental fantasy series, and then other people came in and had to write for it. I don't want that. I don't want to have stuff that's unfinished. I want to knock them off and make the reader happy that they got a complete thing. That's why I'm announcing, hey, this next series will be 6 books. And I'm going to write all 6 books, and I'm going to do rapid release of the first 3, and then every 3 months after that, the final 3 will be out. So it'll encompass about a year that those
Nice.
books will come out.
I like that because you're taking your readers into consideration. People like me, I don't like cliffhangers, and I have to wait a year or 2 to get them. So that's why sci-fi books for me, as much as I love them, are very hard because you probably get one every year or
Yeah.
2 because they are just very dense to kind of write and build the world and everything. So cliffhangers and stuff for me aren't they're not my friend by art. So I love that you're just like, I'm gonna rapid release these, and like every 3 months I'll put out a new one. It's like, yes, I can wait 3 to 6 months is a sweet spot for me. I can wait, and you're still on the forefront of my mind. So I appreciate that you have your readers and everything kind of at the forefront of what you would like. You don't want to wait for a cliffhanger for 2 years. So do you think that, since you're going to complete your series and like you said, you're going to start a new one, do you think that you'll ever dabble in a different genre? Or are you always going to kind of stay within like crime, thriller, horror kind of thing?
I've written in just about every genre at some point.
Nice.
I did ghostwriting for many years for a B movie company. So I did 14 books with them. Some of them have my name on it. Most of them do not. Probably the furthest away I went is I did a romantic, a military romance book.
Oh,
That
okay. That's pretty far away.
that I
Yeah.
wrote. Yeah, and that was ridiculous to write because it was just they gave me like an 8-page treatment of this is what the story is, and it was like every cliche. The dude rides up in his motorcycle, and he's a Navy SEAL, and she falls madly in love, and blah blah blah. And I wrote that, and my name's not on it. The title was really cliche and cheesy. And then about 2 weeks later, they sent me a thing and they said, "Hey, thanks." At that point, this was years ago, we're the #1 book on Amazon right now. Out of all of Amazon, they hit the top spot. And they paid me very well, but I know they made a lot of money off of that one. And I'm surprised they never asked me to do another military role. I'm glad they didn't, because that took, for me, that was just awful. My wife was laughing at me. She's like, "You seem so miserable." I'm like, I just keep thinking, we're paying off the car with this money. We're paying off the car.
Something to motivate you to keep
Yeah,
going. For
yeah.
sure. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I'm not a big romance reader. I stick more within like psychological thrillers, crime thrillers. That for me is just like a release for me. Not
Mhm.
that I'm, going to go murder someone, but it's a release for me in a weird
Right.
kind of way. Romance ones to me are always just so far fetched, or you can kind of nail the ending by the time you finish a chapter. So I can imagine how going from, crime and thriller to military romance would be a very difficult
Yeah.
to kind of do. So which one, if you have to pick, and you can pick more than one, but which one would you say that you had the most fun writing out of all the books that you've written, all the genres? Which one would you say you had the most fun writing?
I do. I write monster novellas for a company called Severed Press, and a lot of those are fun. The last one I did for them was called High on Bigfoot, and it is just as stupid as it sounds. It's basically
I love it.
Bigfoot on a mountain in California where all the pot growers or illegal pot growers are out there, and they piss him off enough that he starts killing people. And
Nice.
that was pretty much the premise on that one. I had a lot of fun writing it, a lot of just corny, those 80s horror movie vibes to it and everything. And it sold really well. As a matter of fact, the publisher just told me they're going to do a German edition now of that book, which will be
Wow.
interesting.
It sounds very like comical, but still, because he's murdering people and stuff, but it does have like a comical element to it. Like I would love to read that book. So I'm gonna have to check it out because that seems like right up my alley. A
Yeah, there's
good
a
laugh.
lot
So we still
of
got that.
goofing around. There's a lot of humor in it, and then there's a lot of crazy Bigfoot violence as well.
See, I love that. If you can throw humor into violence, I'm your person. I think that's why like growing up, I really loved Grand Theft Auto Vice City because it had a bunch of like humor in it, and you can kind of just go rogue, and it was funny for me. I mean, it was the first video game that I played, but it just had the humor with violence to it, and I don't know, I'm quirky enough to love that. So it's definitely a thing for me. So I'm gonna have to go on Amazon and I'm gonna check it out. But before we wrap up or anything like that, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your books. Let everybody know how they can order your books.
So ArmandRosamilia.com is my website. You'll find all my social media on there. I'm on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now as Armand Author. Twitch, check me out, Armand_Rosamilia. Just come and hang out and watch me write and ask me questions and talk. And I'm on pretty much all social media. Just some of them I do, some of them I don't. TikTok I'm enjoying as an old man. I like posting videos and saying dumb things on there. I've had a lot of my first video on there. My daughter, who's my youngest, is 22. She was holding the phone for me, and we did this thing where I said, this is my first video on TikTok. So follow me and book talk, book talk. And she's like, no, Dad, it's hashtag. I said, no, that's a pound sign. And I was going back and forth, goofing around. And then I got so many comments of people correcting me. And I was finally like, it's a joke. I'm an old man. It's a joke. Like I know it's called a hashtag. When I grew up, it was not. It was called the pound sign on the damn phone.
Right. I remember that too. And then when I learned it was, hashtag on social media, I was like, well, this just has multiple uses for it. But I remember that for sure. When you had you still had the landline and you had the cord. And so if someone called you, like your love interest or whatever at the time they called you, you hope no one else answered the phone. And then you had to take the cord like around the room, like the corners, so no one would hear you. And if someone else picked up the phone, then they could hear your conversation. I remember all that. And then I feel, to me, like I would love your video because I'm like nostalgic like that. And I kind of like miss those days.
Yeah.
So I could see that. I could see how you got a bunch of crap for it too, though. But
just funny.
It happens. It happens. But Armand, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Greg, we hope that you feel better. And yet again, I got another good one. Greg, you really missed out. But until next time, everybody, bye for now.